Ray, really appreciate you taking a few minutes here today. Excited to have you as part of the sixth annual National Strip Tillage Conference this summer coming up in Peoria. So yeah, really just wanted to take the opportunity to have our audience, get to know you a little bit better, share some of your background and experience and intersection with strip till. So starting out, just was hoping we could get a little bit of an introduction, some thoughts on, kind of your interests, your background, your experience, and what you've been up to.
Okay, sure. Yeah, I mean, my background, I'm from the state of Kansas, Northeast Kansas, the Manhattan area, born and raised. I did my undergraduate in agronomy and PhD in soil fertility at Kansas State University. And it was in there where, when I was doing my soil fertility graduate work, that I had a lot of interactions with strip tillage, and then also utilizing sensor technologies for making nutrient recommendations. And then also a lot of our strip till work during that time was heavily focused on, placement of nutrients, what different depths should we be placing them at different depths, and what happens when we stir that all up, all those kind of things, both for especially with phosphorus and potassium. There's a heavy focus on those particular nutrients when we were doing our strip till research. And after I finished my PhD, I was a professor at precision agriculture at Kansas State University for a little over 3 years at that time, and then proceeded to become more of an independent consultant now, dealing with not only still working on the farm and providing recommendations to farmers, but also providing strategic insight on different sensor technologies to develop to larger companies that would actually benefit farmers. And same thing for like cloud analytical platforms. And so I still have a pretty active involvement in the soil fertility realm, dealing with sensor technologies and making nutrient recommendations, and dealing with tillage and no-till, strip till programs, and those kind of items. And so I was pretty excited to get the invite to the strip till conference to talk to a lot of fine people in strip till. One of the best things that I always liked doing was getting my boots on the ground and talking with people on the farm and finding out what their problems are. What are the issues facing the strip till farmer today? What could we do? What could we develop technology-wise that would improve their bottom line, make them more profit per acre, and have a more sound agronomic practice? And so I'm really excited to learn more from the individuals that are going to come to the strip till conference, and hopefully I can give them some insights of what's on the horizon in the industry, both the ag industry and academia. We're also seeing a lot more collaboration between academia and industry these days. So that's also pretty exciting, creating next generation technology for farming.
Yeah. You mentioned, obviously, with the advancements that have been made with technology, that's a huge area of opportunity. I know, we've talked about this in the past, but I think one of the questions, probably the big question that a lot of farmers have, is just the ROI and how do they apply, some of these technologies that are out there, in particular when we're talking about some of the sensing technologies. I know that's an area that you've got a lot of passion for, done a lot of work in, and I would guess, that's going to be an area you'll be touching on during the dinner presentation on Thursday night at the conference.
Absolutely, Jack. We'll have a lot of in-depth conversations about where sensor technologies have been, what their failures have been, why in the past, why haven't they been really adopted all that well up to this point. And a lot of it had to do right around that ROI subject. And, for the most part, sensor technologies out there are relatively disconnected, so to speak. You spend $20,000 on a sensor outfit, optical sensors for your sprayer. But it didn't talk to anything but your sprayer, and it's difficult to use the data, and you could only really utilize it for one thing on the farm. It's hard to get a return on the investment when you can only use the sensor technology for one thing. But the fun thing we'll be talking about during a presentation during the dinner, while everybody's eating a steak, is that how things are changing thanks to the Internet of Things and connectivity being enabled on the agricultural space. It's really breathing new life into sensor technologies. And then the advantages also with, it's been 10 years since a lot of these optical sensor technologies were developed. Believe it or not, we've improved the process, and it's actually gotten cheaper to make them. So the sensors themselves are cheaper. So we're looking at entire connected farms, getting sensors to deliver all that data seamlessly to the cloud back to the tractor, to sprayer, but then also direct local area network machine-to-machine communication. You start having, whether it's your drones or your four-wheeler or a guy on a bike driving through the field, that sensor is relaying his data back to the sprayer where it needs to go so it can provide agronomic input. And you kind of smirked when I said the guy driving through with a bike, on a motorcycle in the field. There was a guy in Southwest Kansas who actually did that religiously, and it seemed to work for him.
Hey, whatever it takes. Whatever
it takes. He made that sensor pay. So he was scouting with it all season long. So we're going to have a lot of fun on looking where the sensor technology itself has gone hardware wise and capability, but then what the machine to machine communications and cloud analytical platforms are enabling us to do further. And one of the most exciting things that I have to say is that basically dealing with the industry and how they're fully recognizing the value of agronomic input, actually getting some agronomist input on how they need to develop these systems to actually pay dividends to the farmer. I think previously in the past, there was a lot of focus just from a pure engineering perspective without actually having too much discussions with agronomists and farmers from the field. And so how can we expect any ag industry company to develop a sensor product that's going to pay dividends to the farmer if they're not even addressing multiple problems on the farm? And so that's probably one of the exciting things I've been seeing with these new sensor technologies and connected technologies throughout the cloud platforms now is developed at their core is what's the agronomic problem that they're looking to solve, and what are the multiple problems they can address on the farm throughout the entire growing season. How can they improve the response time to problems, get that recommendation to the sprayer, and get that action applied as soon as possible, because it's that response time to problems is where we lose a lot of our money. And so this is where that connected technology and sensors is really going to help us change the game, all developed with agronomic algorithms developed by agronomists, which is a lot more exciting.
Right, and obviously that agronomic piece is a big one in the puzzle there. I know talking with farmers myself and even dealers that are in the precision space, I hear a lot about connecting the dots and making sure that it's the equipment, the agronomy, and kind of the science and the engineering that are all part of that conversation, especially when it's wrapped around ROI or really trying to convey the value in some of the newer technologies that are out there. And I think there seems to be a real opportunity to kind of be able to draw the lines between those different aspects to help farmers have a better understanding of, okay, these pieces are all interconnected. And, putting them all together is really going to enhance, the opportunity you have with, sensing technology, getting more out of your equipment, getting more out of your fields, your fertility. And I think, that's something that I'm guessing you see, some momentum toward, but probably still more strides that need to be taken in that area.
Absolutely, Jack. 5 years ago, it was a really tough struggle out there with sensor technologies. Whether we had soil sensors, whether we had optical sensors collecting crop data, also satellite imagery, any of our applied data from the sprayer and seeding rates from planters, and obviously our harvest data. Everything was pretty well fractured out. We had a difficult time getting all that data centralized and processed together. And there's still more work to be done in that area to make it easy for the farmer to get actionable recommendation from all these data sources they're already collecting in the field. And I think one of the good things that we'll talk about at this presentation is we'll actually be talking about real life scenarios of we had soil sensors collecting soil moisture data. We had a sandy loam soil. We had applied 60 pounds of nitrogen up front, but then we had 3 inches of rainfall that came in. Obviously, we probably suffered some nitrate leaching losses, but then our optical sensor data confirmed those leaching losses based on the physical response from the crop. It's these multiple data angles reinforcing our interpretation of what's happened, and then being able to give the recommendation to the farmer to what to do next. That's at the core of what an agronomist does. What's great is now with our ability to start to connect those dots, so to speak, in the cloud and at the machine locally, as you were saying, is that now we can start to automate some of that processing, because now, a lot of agronomists and farmers are not like GIS or analytical computer processing people. And so what they want to do is have all that data get pre-processed for them, that deep science to be taken care of by guys like me, guys in academia, guys and gals with PhDs in industry, right? Where we can automate that scientific workflow and get them to, excuse me, actionable data sets that they can easily recommend. Sorry, guys.
No problem.
Losing my voice already. It's already going away.
That'll be the beauty of editing. So
yeah, that would be the beauty of editing. So we get to that actionable recommendation, and then they can be like, okay, it looks like I have a yield potential of like 80 bushel wheat here or 200 bushel corn. And so then they can decide, well, I can make finite adjustments to the already pre-processed nitrogen recommendation that I feel, based on my local expertise, is more appropriate for my local field. And so you start to see that nice integration of the sensor technologies, what they provide on soil by weather by crop interactions, heavy analytical processing developed by scientists and agronomists in the field, and then the local farmer can apply its expertise on top of that. And so we start to see an augmentation of what we can achieve. And that's how we're going to start to really get ROI out of these sensor investments, is when they all play a nice integral role and provide dedicated outputs.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, very much looking forward to hearing more about this at the conference, Ray. It sounds like an excellent presentation. I'm sure you're going to expand some minds with some of your insight and experience into these topics. So appreciate you being part of the program again. Excited to have you out at the conference this summer in Peoria. So looking forward to a great event. And again, I appreciate the time today for your insight and the opportunity.
All right. Thank you, Jack. I appreciate the opportunity. And I guess, you see I'm wearing my white t-shirt today, so that means that it's time for me to go back to the field. See everybody at the event.